what's more interesting than just the observation that prophecy fails is how the communities that believe in that prophecy maintain belief in spite of the failure, and the way that a prophetic tradition like the Jeremiah corpus, or like the Isaiah traditions, Isaiah and Deutero-Isaiah and Trito-Isaiah, and the book of Daniel. I mean, something as explicit as Daniel saying the exact day, the exact length of time that this stuff is going to happen in. And the fact that we still, over, 2,200 years later, believe in it, and think that like, oh, it's actually talking about our future, and do the hermeneutical work necessary to recover those texts, and still believe in them as the word of God. That is what's fascinating to me. And the way that, Robert Carroll's book, When Prophecy Failed, is all about the way that the prophetic traditions are doing that. It's such a good book. It's dry, but it has so many gems in it. And he focuses a lot on the Isaiah traditions.
Oh, I mirrored our camera. That's why it's backwards when prophecy fails.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks fine to me, Derek.
You're able to read that like straight up?
Oh yeah. No, it looks good. And I just checked the YouTube feed and it looks fine.
Oh, nice.
It looks backwards to us, but that's odd. Let me see. Oh, it is.
No, right?
That's wild. Okay, cool.
Interesting.
Very.
But I would love to hear from you, Kip, especially like about with your expertise in the Dead Sea Scrolls, because we have the Habakkuk Pesher, the commentary on Habakkuk from the Dead Sea sect, and the way that they're dealing with passages from Habakkuk and saying that these are about our time, but seem to be dealing with an element of delay, and interpreting Habakkuk in such a way that it accounts for the delay of their expectations, so that they can maintain the truth of their belief in the teacher of righteousness and so forth. But I think they're a fascinating example of that reinterpretation of failure.
So and I really think like this is when Derek mentioned to me, 75 odd minutes ago or so that he wanted to do this stream. We're gonna talk about cognitive dissonance and apocalypticism, and if you could just draw
from everything you're doing right now and come and join me.
Yeah. and oh, by the way, it'd be great if you could pull up some shit on the Habakkuk Pesher while you're at it.
Yeah.
So, but as I was thinking through this, in my mind, I'm like, like it's there. You have two things working at Qumran, and the really interesting thing that happens when we look at Qumran is because there's no Essene. Well, I guess there are Essenes still. These ridiculous people who call themselves Essenes, but the Essenes are gone.
Yeah,
the Jewish Essenes are gone. They all died. The movement ended. Nobody is going to look back at the literature of the Essenes and say they got it right. But the funny thing is that if we look back at the literature of the Essenes, we can look at stuff, and we'll talk a little bit about both of this. We can look at stuff and say, they totally said this was going to happen, and it didn't happen. But then, but look, they've got all this stuff where they talked about how there's prophecies in the Bible that are being fulfilled and have been fulfilled and were the proof of that, right? Like that's what the Habakkuk Pesher is. If people are unaware, this is a smallish manuscript. It's and we have pretty much like the whole thing. It was one of the very first of the scrolls discovered. It was one of the first three discovered and sold. It's I think 15 lines per column, and I think 11 columns in total. And it's just the first 3 chapters of Habakkuk, and I opened it up here, to take a look at it. Like the text begins at the very top of the Habakkuk Pesher. This is reconstructed a little bit, but something to the effect of, oracle received by the prophet Habakkuk in a vision, is just how it starts, right? For how long, Yahweh, do I ask? And now he's quoting from Habakkuk. For how long, Yahweh, do I ask for help without you hearing me? Shout violence to you without you saving me. And then there's a break, and the scroll continues. The interpretation of this concerns the beginning of the generation. And then there's close to the beginning, there's some missing bits that we can't quite fill in completely accurately, which will come upon them. They will shout against. There's another quotation of a bit of text from Habakkuk, and it follows with another interpretation, but the entire text is structured this way. And this manuscript comes from pretty late, I believe, in the life of what we believe to be the community that wrote and collected the Dead Sea Scrolls. So this is from around the mid to late 1st century BCE. I think I'd have to go back and double check that. So
is this
there's beautiful pictures of it. Yes. So and you can see exactly there on the right hand side why they've had to reconstruct a bunch of it, because lots of the text is missing. But as you move further into the scroll, you've got lots of complete bits, and of course the bottom part of the manuscript has unfortunately worn away to nothing. But this was a manuscript that was written by the people who wrote and collected these scrolls from Qumran.
When did they date this?
I think so. I have to double check, but if you hold on for just a second, okay. And if I look closely at the handwriting here, I could probably give you a bit of a ballpark. So this is probably just guessing here. So don't take this as gospel, haha. But this is probably like mid 1st century BCE. But yeah, I'd have to take a closer look at it, and I hadn't taken the time to actually look at the date either before I opened it up. So this is this is, while it's written as this perspective on the prophecies of Habakkuk, this is also a very important historical text, and one from which scholars reconstruct a lot of the history of the community itself, because there's a lot of wild things that are in here, in terms of how he's looking at the book of Habakkuk, whoever wrote and put this together, and then understanding what the book of Habakkuk actually means.